problem with that is it's still, I guess, it required federal law approval before, states are one thing.
Did the person that arranged your interview tell you might have to comment on pot stocks?
No, absolutely not. I am trying to figure out what to say next. But let's talk about the bond market,
Let's
though.
do that.
I think it's important. We really didn't, honestly, we didn't see this move from, say, 295 to almost 310 coming. But obviously, with an average hourly earnings number as high as it was, that was a market surprise. And then that brings into the Fed maybe a second cut after next week. Maybe December comes in, and that is where maybe some of the longs threw in the towel. But we've seen this before, right? So mid-May, we talked about it, we hit 311, and then 2 weeks later, we're at 285. So it isn't necessarily something that concerns us until you get the next set of numbers, or you have a trend change. So this could be part of the range. It could be part of a new move to 3.25 prior to year end, but it's going to take another 0.4 out of average hourly earnings, or a PCE core that's up above 0.3, which takes us well into 2%.
It's kind of funny because everything you're describing, all the good things would mean higher rates. And yet, we still get a little queasy feeling as they're going up. But whenever, like when we go back down to 280, it's like, I don't know, a constitutional crisis or, possible nuclear war. Or trade wars getting ready. It's something that causes people to rush to unload some risk and rush to safety. So I'm okay. It's okay. It's good that it's going up, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not problematic.
Higher wages, that's the thing you just complained about.
Right, yeah, I do. I mean, we like long lines for cheese. We in the bond market, we're not looking for...
Is that an expression? That's an old expression for what you guys like, and that's nice.
When things are terrible for everyone else,
this is lines are good for you.
Yeah, we're going to thrive.
That's great.
But this is not going to be harmful to anyone in terms of their bond holdings, because we really don't see... I think we'll end up below 3% before the end of the year. I'm not sure that the Fed will get that December raise in. And if so, you're going to go into the next year thinking maybe only 2 raises for the Fed. So we're in a tight range, but it's not harmful to go from 290 to 315 or 320 as long as we're doing it in an orderly way.
So, Eric, I don't think a day goes by where I don't see another, and it's usually President Trump or something, but bringing up something that hasn't been this good in like 50 years or something, right? All these you can find all these different pockets of, I don't know whether it's the unemployment,
lowest unemployment since the year 2000, wage growth picking up,
unemployment
corporate
claims,
earnings. Maybe run through the numbers.
And so, is that good or bad? And if it's so good, I mean, are you worrying we can only go down from here, or are you gratified that so many people still say that we're in? I mean, I read in the newspapers here on cable that we're going to get through this time. Yeah. We're going to get through these challenging times. Doris Kearns Goodwin. We're going to get through these challenging times, and I'm like, what are they talking about? Those mean tweets and stuff? And
so we don't think that we've seen the peak in U.S. economic growth. I mean, we've seen some very robust economic growth, but we think this cycle is continuing. So the biggest question that we have isn't whether the U.S. will continue to go well. We think it will. Is whether the rest of the world starts to catch up.
But to Joe's point, there was a statistic in the Wall Street Journal, I think it came from a Bank of America Merrill Lynch survey that showed that investors have 5.1% of their holdings in cash, which is the highest level in 18 months. People are nervous. Why? Right. And is it justified?
I think that there's reason for short-term caution, and I think that 5.1% in cash shows that investors aren't engaging in excesses. There isn't kind of irrational exuberance here, and I think that reflects the broader global picture. The U.S. market may be up 9-10% this year, but EM is down, as much. You've seen a statistically incredibly improbable divergence between the U.S. and the rest of the world, and that's driven by great economics, great growth in the United States without a lot of inflation, but that hasn't necessarily played through to the rest of the world. So our biggest concern around the current situation isn't that the U.S. economy continues to do well. We think it will. Our target on the 10-year Treasury is 313. We think there's upside to 325. It's if the rest of the world never starts pitching in and the Fed starts having to move to manage growth and inflation in the United States when Europe, Japan haven't come back. You've seen some more kind of bodies float to the surface in the emerging markets. That could bring forward the end of the cycle.
You say if. Is it your call that the rest of the world firms up a little bit here, or at least the markets do?
Absolutely, yeah. Our call is that there will be convergence after this remarkable divergence that we've seen. And that, but the way we're playing this in our global allocation fund is we're both long U.S. equities and long EM equities. We're kind of barbelling the environment. We want to have exposure to the U.S., the best, most rapidly growing, most dynamic economy in the world, and then we want to have exposure to better, valued area of the world, which still has decent fundamentals. As Jamie Dimon was saying, with the exception of Argentina and Turkey and now maybe South Africa, the rest of the emerging world is in pretty good shape fundamentally.